Welcome back to hour number two, the final portion of hour number two of our Super Bowl preview show. We're getting closer and closer to game time, and I'm happy to welcome back here to the desk the gentleman who guided you through hour number one, who I am absolutely thrilled to work with here at the Vegas Stats and Information Network as we move forward. The iconic Mount Rushmore like Brent Musburger.
It means I'm old. Al, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, and it's a thrill to be able to work with you on this endeavor, because you and I have been like two planets orbiting around each other and never actually getting together.
Yeah, exactly. You know, back in the Windy City, in the days where I started back in Chicago, and you were there, and yeah, it's great when you hear as part of VSIN. And while you were on the air with the fellas, I went out into the room and sort of worked my way over to where the bookmakers are back at the office and talked to some of the fans, and you can feel the excitement building for this Super Bowl game. Now, there is so much interest, and there's so much difference of opinion out there with the recreational bettors. You know, you'll find the folks that are behind the Falcons, and of course, you give Belichick an extra week, and he will take something away from you. You know, that crowd's out there too, believe me.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, you have covered so many Super Bowls. This one is one that it looks like has stayed kind of consistent in terms of all the odds and the lines. That's rare.
It is. You know, usually we see movement, as we certainly did last year with Carolina and Denver. I think that early on, the bookmakers, they were reluctant to go to 3.5, even when a lot of the public came in on the side of the Patriots. It's interesting, you know, not everybody listening and watching us is a professional bettor, and they wonder about the half. How can that mean so much? And generally speaking, it doesn't in a Super Bowl. If you pick a winner, you're usually in pretty good shape. But the reason why they're reluctant to go is then if it comes down to a field goal, you know, they could get hammered at 3.5. If the Patriots were to win by 3, they'd still owe Atlanta on the money line. And one Super Bowl in history, I think they got middled. Pittsburgh, Dallas, way back in the day, one of the early ones. But, you know, Al, we have to be honest, and I think the league is with itself. The National Football League would not be nearly as large as it is today without gaming behind it. It's an integral part of what goes on, and I ran into some $20 bettors. Yeah, we got the fact that we talk about that $1 million bet that allegedly was made. But the $20 bettors, they're like the horse racing, the $2 bettors. They push the industry. Yeah,
for sure. Quick comment from, we're going to get a quick comment about one of the important features before we get to Hank Goldberg from our friend Daryl Reed, who was here in the first hour visiting with Brent, who played on the Indianapolis in the 2007 Super Bowl. And even though you beat my Chicago Bears, I'm still going to forgive you. We should forgive them, huh, Brent?
Absolutely.
All right. The injury to Mac, you have an interesting perspective on that.
I think if Mac has any issues with that injury or cannot go today, I think he's going to give it a go. I think we all agree on that. The attention quickly goes to the backup center, who is Ben Garland, who I actually played with in Denver. He was an undrafted free agent from the Air Force, and he was a defensive lineman in Denver.
Wow.
So he's known as a two-way player. So it'll be interesting because although he's very athletic, he's a hard worker, his experience is not of that caliber, and I expect a bunch of blitzes, Mac or Garland in there, a bunch of blitzes from Belichick, a bunch of different looks to see if they can handle that early on.
That'll be intriguing. Well, we're going to get set now to welcome a gentleman who is a good friend of yours. I've known him also over the years, and he is a legendary talk show host in Miami, and for 20 years on ESPN was an NFL reporter and an analyst on ESPN, and also picked the games every week in a segment that was so popular and that nobody could possibly not watch. Let's welcome Hank Goldberg in. Hank, how are you?
I'm great. How you doing?
We're doing good. Your friend Brent Musburger is here.
Hank, how are you, my friend?
Brent, it's great to talk with you. All the best with this project. I thought about so many Super Bowls that I was at with you. when I was working with our mutual friend and saw the job you guys did, and it was just phenomenal.
He says our mutual friend, he was one of the Greeks' babysitters. Okay,
yes.
there he is right there up on his screen.
Yeah.
There's Hammered Hank. He'd write the Greek column. He'd keep him under control. He'd give him some good tidbits. The Greek wouldn't have been the Greek without people like Hank Goldberg and Mike Francesa in the background with him.
That's for sure. Hank, you have had such an illustrious career as picking games and handicapping and covering the NFL. When you approach this game, how does it stack up in terms of what you look at in terms of other Super Bowls that you've seen?
Well, I thought this game was very interesting. I compared it with last week's Pegasus Stakes, in that I took the winner of that race, Arrogant, who was the young, faster horse, and I compared him with the veteran team that had been there before, who might have seen his better days in Chrome. And this horse is so fast that if he breaks on top, you can't catch him. And that's why I think the first possession in this game is so important. You have a team in Atlanta that scored on their first possession 8 straight times. And they're not a quick striking team. They'll work the clock. And, their first drive the last couple of weeks were 7.5 minutes. And if they can do that and frustrate New England, I think if they break on top, that's going to be very significant in this game. That's why that first possession is going to be very important. But Atlanta is young, they're fast, and Belichick, he's going to look to stop Julio, but there's so many alternatives for Ryan. That's why I like Ryan over 38.5 pass attempts in this game. And he's got, and my big prop is that one of the running backs will score first in the game for Atlanta. But this is really a game of time consumption, and each drive will be long time possessions in the game.
And Hammer and Hank, I'm not dialing any 1-900 winners. We don't do that at VSiN here, my friend. Come on, you like the under the way you're talking? You like the Falcons? Come on, my friend, come up with it.
Well, I'm not going to hesitate to give you a winner, Brent. But I remember back in the day, the Greek and I. This was back, I think, in the '80s when the game was played in Tampa, and we were sitting with Al Davis, and he said that they were going to go after Theismann, and they were going to hit him even if they had to take penalties and try to fluster him early and knock him around. And I think that Atlanta may try to do the same thing with Brady. Try to shake him up a little bit and hit him early and often. And it bothered Theismann, remember, because he threw a couple of costly interceptions in that game. But remember, I think that all the leading tacklers on New England are defensive backs, all their top tacklers. So I don't think that New England is great at rushing the passer, and I think that Ryan is going to have time. I like the fast breaking team, and I like the team with speed, and I like Atlanta in this game. I took under 89. Now the number's 56.5. So 56.5. Brent, you know how I'm thinking with that.
Yeah, exactly. Middle Hank, Hammer and Hank coming out. Hank, I have a statistic that I found really intriguing, and it speaks to what you said about Brady facing some pressure. The penalties in the league, from the regular season to what we've seen in the postseason, they've declined almost 30%. And what that says to me, especially in the defensive backs and things like that, they're letting them be a little more aggressive. And obviously, you're going to protect Brady, and as well they should, the quarterbacks in the pocket. But it does speak, Al, to what Hank is saying. Yeah,
it really does. Hank, it seems like that Falcon defense is kind of the key to the whole deal here, isn't it?
Well,
whether they can
they're a
measure
lot
up.
better than people think they are. In their last 6 games, I think they've held teams to under 21 points 5 times. They've got a lot of young talent in that secondary, and of course they've got a better pass rush than people think. And watch out for Deion Jones in this game. He could be a person not too many people talk about, and he may lead that team in tackles in this game. Watch for that.
Yeah, and you hit on the speed of the Atlanta defense, and that's a big element.
Yeah, I mean, and remember, their coach, he's defended this Patriot team before. I want to tell you something about New England in Super Bowls. If it wasn't for a costly blunder by Pete Carroll, you'd be looking at New England to match Buffalo and to match Minnesota as the team of the 2000s in unsuccessful Super Bowl attempts in a row.
You know, there are a couple of things, though, that are against Atlanta here. One is Kyle Shanahan, who everybody says will sign on as a San Francisco 49er head coach following this Super Bowl. You have to wonder a little bit about the distractions. Not only is he concerned about calling plays against the New England Patriots, but he's got to put together a coaching staff. He had to have spent some time on his next position. And I honestly think, Hank, that is a concern to someone who wants to back the Falcons.
I think it is a little bit of a concern, but Shanahan, I think he's got his head into this business of winning this game first. I mean, it's been common knowledge that he's going to San Francisco now for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It certainly didn't bother him in the championship game.
All right, Hank, we're going to have to run because we got to run off to break. You're looking live at the Vegas Stats Sports Information Network.